Many of you may not know that 70% of the students in the state of Texas from K through 12 are students of color. 60% of the students in K through 12 education in the state of Texas are from economically disadvantaged backgrounds. And what economically disadvantaged backgrounds is defined as students who require free and reduced lunch for school time. Lots of things to talk about with that, but we only have 10 minutes, so we're going to talk about this one. If you come from an economically disadvantaged background, you are more at risk for all the negative outcomes in life, for health issues, for mental health trauma, for teen pregnancy, for prison, for dropping out of school. All of these things are exacerbated based upon the fact that you come from an economically disadvantaged background. But here's the thing. If 60% of our students are economically disadvantaged in the state of Texas, and another 70% of those students are students from communities of color, that's not what the demographics of our two flagship state institutions look like. It just isn't. So that begs the question, where are these students going to go to college in the next 10 years? Well, the reality of it is there must be a different model because the rest of us are going to have to educate the true students from the state of Texas that our population is producing. That's what we're going to talk about today. And the reality of it is, to serve those who you have never served before, you must do what has never been done. Therefore, we're going to have to engage in a different model of higher education than what we have typically thought about, and maybe perhaps what we see at the typical large flagship schools. What you are seeing across this country is a desire for something different, for wraparound services, for the acknowledgement that where people come from, where we are meeting them, must be a place that says, I see you, I understand you, I'm engaging with you, and I'm going to lift you from here and bring you to here. That's what's going to be required. But to do that, we must find ways to educate these students in classrooms and communities that reflect who they are. And to do that, I believe we have to embrace something called reality-based education. This is the principle that we use at Paul Quinn College. This is increasingly the principle that you are seeing being discussed across the country. It may be called something different, but when you hear schools talk about wraparound services, when you talk about adding additional services to the typical school experience, what they're really talking about is reality-based education. And there are several tiers to it, but let's talk about 4 of them right now. Number 1, the economic reality of why people come to college. I am from the liberal arts tradition. I believe in the liberal arts tradition. I believe and love lifelong learning. But I also understand what we are dealing with today is the ability to be lifelong earners. People come to college to get a job. We must be transparent about that. We must be honest about that. And we must understand that doesn't mean that you are any less academically inclined because you are concerned what you are going to do next. If 60% of our students are coming from economically disadvantaged backgrounds, we do not have the luxury of pretending that isn't a conversation we have to have. Here's how we handled that at Paul Quinn College. We created something called the Urban Work College model. Right? We did that because we realized several things. Over 75% of today's college students work more than 20 hours per week. 79% of employers would like their entry-level hires to have real-world work experience. 50% of college students wish their colleges had helped them gain real-world work experience. There's a void in the marketplace. We must meet that void. Now, you are seeing that being done successfully at some of the high school levels. In DISD, they have this amazing P-TECH program. The Dallas County Community College District is doing some amazing things here. At Paul Quinn, we just said, you know what? We're going to create a system where all of our students get jobs. You come to Paul Quinn, you work a job, an average of 15 to 16 hours a week in internships that we secure for the students. Right there with some of the largest companies in the country, and it's a wonderful partnership. You graduate with 4 years of real-world work experience. And by the way, we cut tuition and fees, which reduce the debt so that you now graduate with more and real economic options. So the first thing is we have to be transparent about helping the students engage in the internship experience, which leads directly to the work experience. Number 2, challenge-based curriculums. We believe that students have to work in teams. In fact, corporate America told us, We asked them, what would you like to see college students do? What would you like to see them be prepared to do? What guarantee or gives them the best chance of succeeding? They told us they need to be able to work in teams. They need to be able to write well. They need to be able to speak well, and they need to be digitally competent. Made sense to us. So we created a curriculum where people work in teams. They work in groups in every single course, and they solve real-world problems. So when you go into the workplace, you're not doing theory. You've had 4 years of experience actually doing things that matter. The other thing about this is it allows us to build a curriculum where students see themselves, because we create problems that they're solving from their own lives. It gives us a way of being far more interactive and engaging the students. Nothing says we see you more by being allowed to share your experiences in a course from a structural standpoint. We created something called the Quinnite Arts because, quite frankly, the liberal arts were getting shelled publicly, all right? Everyone was putting down the liberal arts, which, by the way, what I just described to you, what corporate America told us that they needed, with the exception of digital competencies, those were all things found in the liberal arts. So it wasn't that people didn't like the liberal arts anymore, they just had a bad brand. So we changed the brand. And when you make stuff up, you can decide what you call it too, right? We're Paul Quinn College, so we call it the Quinnite Arts. In every single one of our courses, students write papers now. In every single one of our courses, students get up and give public presentations. Every single one of our courses, students work in teams to solve real-world problems. And in every single one of our courses, they have to demonstrate digital competencies, which set the table for the fourth thing that we realized that you have to be able to do in reality-based education. You have to acknowledge the fact that it is taking people longer to finish school. And so if it's going to take them a little longer to finish school, how about you give them greater value at each step along the way? So what we did was we created a process by which our students every year have the ability to earn 1 to 2 digital certificates, right? So each semester they have a chance to earn a digital certificate. We start with something basic, Microsoft Office certification, right? Because if your family circumstances require you to stop out of school, you have the ability to earn a higher state of living than you would have without those certificates. So now when you graduate from our college, you're graduating with 3 forms of education. A subject matter mastery, which is what you've majored in, which, by the way, I don't know about you, but I'm doing nothing close to what I majored in college. And I suspect some of you are in the same boat, all right? So let's hedge our bets. Number 2, you're graduating 4 years of real-world work experience, which allows you to be competent in a way that gives you another competitive advantage. But thirdly, you now finish with 4 to 8 digital certificates, which give you something else to bet upon. Because the reality of it is, we don't know what the marketplace is going to look like in 10 years. We don't know what it's going to look like in 5 years. The rate of change is too fast. So we need to prepare our students with the greatest amount of tools that they can have. Those are 4 of the bedrocks of reality-based education. But here's some other things that we need to be able to do. We need to get our students into the college mindset faster. We started a summer bridge program. All of our students come to us the summer after they graduate from from high school. And by the way, they come for free because 85% of our students qualify for Pell Grants. And if you're on a Pell Grant, the prior year Pell Grant picks up the cost of you attending summer bridge. Right? It gives us a chance to get them 9 academic hours and engage them differently. I am their first professor. Our Vice President of Academic Affairs is their second professor. So what we are saying to the students without saying it to them is the 2 senior officials at this institution think you are so important that they're going to spend 6 weeks with you, 4 days a week, over 2 hours a day, showing up and getting to know you. It has been the single best thing we've done, and more schools are moving to models where you see their college presidents teaching them. Mental health culture. Our students are coming from traumatized places. 60% of our students are coming in the state of Texas are coming from economically disadvantaged backgrounds. Poverty breeds trauma. We have brought it out in the open. Our students come to us with the need to learn how to move out of the darkness. Everyone goes through a dark season. We want to make sure they don't have dark lives. The Office of Prestigious Opportunities. No one tells students from under-resourced communities that they have the opportunity to do prestigious things. So we renamed our Office of Career Development the Office of Prestigious Opportunities. Branding is everything, all right? We changed the academic calendar. Do you know what it's like to be a student from an under-resourced community and you can't afford to go home at Christmas and go home at Thanksgiving? It's wonderful to have people who will let you spend Thanksgiving with them, but what about the fact that you can't be with your family? You're being reminded of that constantly. So we leveled the playing field because you know what? There's really no reason why we go back to school after Thanksgiving, right? What do you do for those 2 weeks other than be stressed out and miserable? So we cut the semester. School ends at Thanksgiving. Everyone goes home. You know who loves that the most? The faculty. Right? They love it. I see them in the hallway and they give me hugs now, okay? The semester ends at Thanksgiving. Level playing field. You're not making an adjustment for everyone else. You're treating everyone the same. Lastly, we live in a global world, but our students don't have the resources to participate in that global world. So we created a travel abroad requirement for graduation. And part of the reason we ended the semester at Thanksgiving, because we created a December term which allows students to travel abroad for an affordable rate. The other thing we did was we reminded the students that Native American communities, tribal reservations, qualify as sovereign nations. So go study them because that qualifies as studying abroad as well. The reality of it is we must look at things differently. We must engage differently. That's what the future is going to look like. We must meet the students where they are. We must meet the students that we have, not the ones we wish we had, not the ones we had 10 years ago. We shouldn't have to go looking all around the world to find students that fit our prototype. We should take the students in our backyard and transform to meet their needs. And then lastly, I want to leave you with this quote by Václav Havel because I think it's so important and speaks to the era that we live in. I feel that the dormant goodwill in people needs to be stirred. People need to hear that it makes sense to behave decently or to help others, to place common interest above their own, to respect the elementary rules of human coexistence. What I hope for all of us, what I hope for the students of Texas for the future, is that they come to institutions that have realized the dominant culture must become we over me. The needs of our communities must supersede the wants of the individual.